Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
2 certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only 2 best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. Well, I relinquished control to another person. Are you proud of me?
Is that the first time this podcast?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that we let someone else do the interviewing?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it.
Yeah. This
maybe
is a
the
special
only
one,
time,
you guys.
Maybe the first and final time that I ever let anyone else have power.
I mean, I think it went pretty well. I think we could do it again.
It was great. So our friend Brit is here to interview us. This was part of our sort of year celebration of having a podcast. And this actually wasn't my original idea. It was just Brit had sent us a few questions that she asked us to consider for Dear Rachel. And I said, these are really good. Can you just add to this? And will you just interview us? She was like, yeah. So Brit is a really important part of how this podcast got started because she was our marketing coach for a while. And she helped me in particular build the podcast. Like, she held me accountable and we brainstormed together. And I'm not sure without her if we would actually have done it, or maybe we would have done it, but it would have taken maybe a lot longer to finally get around to it.
It was much more efficient with Brit helping us at the helm. So she's what she's good at.
She's here to ask us some burning questions. And we had a lot of fun. And I'm going to have Kristen read her bio so that you have a little bit of an idea of who she is.
Okay. Brit Kolo is the creator of the Marketing Personality Type Framework at marketingpersonalities.com and the host of the Marketing Personalities podcast. Through her framework, designed to match you with your best marketing strategy based on your Myers-Briggs personality type, she's here to shake up your approach to marketing and inspire you to grow your business in a feel-good way. Meet Brit and get ready to go deep, find your true self, and grow that business of yours without feeling fake and salesy at marketingpersonalities.com.
So that won't be relevant to everyone, but for those of you who are entrepreneurs or curious about starting your own business, I really suggest that you go take her quiz. And if you don't know your Myers-Briggs type first, go to 16personalities.com and take the free version of the MBTI there. I think it's so cool and refreshing to talk about doing something like, running a business and marketing it in a way that actually aligns with your personality in a world where there are just so many stupid ideas about, here are 5 things you have to do when you have a business, or this is the only way to market something. Well, that's, as you and I know, that's complete BS. You only can ever do something if it aligns with who you are. And if you don't know that, then you're going to be really struggling.
Yeah. And we are pretty particular about who we bring in to help us with our business. We don't just hire any old marketing coach or business coach to help us, because we do care so much about doing it our way, and we'll revolt against someone who tries to get us to do something we're not going to do. And Brit knows that, and she works with us, and she's not kidding when she says she's a very deep thinker and someone who is not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. And you're going to understand just how deep she is by the level of the questions that she came up with for us. They were really good questions, and they got to some stuff that I'm not sure we've shared on the podcast before.
No, there's a few things I'm thinking of that we definitely did not talk about before. So
kudos to Brit for pulling the good stuff out of us.
Okay, so we'll see you at the end. Enjoy this tables turned conversation. Hey, Brit.
Hi.
Hey, guys. I'm so glad to be here.
I am thrilled to have you. I think that you are a special, I think so. I mean, you can lie if this is wrong. Member of the 100 Club or the 100 Plus Club, like someone who's literally listened to every episode of this podcast, like a trooper.
100%. I will carry that torch. I have listened to every single one.
I love that.
On 1 speed, which, because usually I listen on like 1.5, but not with you guys. I want every ounce of what you give me in audio format.
I am impressed that you listen to podcasts on 1.5.
I've tried, and it makes people sound weird.
I also think it would fuel my anxiety. Like, it would just make me anxious to be hearing people talk that fast.
Well, we'll talk in a minute. But I go slow at everything, so I don't want to go fast at listening. But I get the point.
I'm honored that you listen to us in real time.
I do. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it makes me feel special.
Well, we've probably already mentioned this in the intro, but Brit is one of the reasons this podcast even exists, which is why when I was thinking of, okay, I want to do something special because it's our year podcast anniversary month. And I think it would be cool to have someone interview us as the experts as opposed to someone else. I was like, I want someone who's actually really likes this podcast and actually listens to it. And I was like, well, there's really no one better than Brit then if that's who I'm looking for.
And someone who helped birth it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here we are. Okay. So like with that, I'm passing the torch to you. And now this is your interview and you can do what you want.
Oh, good. First of all, I'm so honored that you both would choose me to interview you. I think you have created such a great podcast. Like we've already reviewed, I live for every podcast episode that you that you drop into my feed, and I listen to every single one. And that's not easy to do because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but it's not common for me to stick with one podcast for a very long time. And for me to listen to a podcast for an entire year and never skip one, it's a big deal. You too. So just so you know.
I'm very flattered. Mm-hmm. Also, you've heard us in your ears so many hours.
So many hours.
You've hung out with us more than a lot of people I know, I've known for decades, probably. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I'm so honored to have an opportunity to ask you some questions.
Well, let's
see what's going on. Okay. All right. So I want to start out because we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. I want to know why you decided to start a podcast in the first place, because you had blogged for so long and you both are such great writers. What made you decide to start a podcast, a form of content that is in a completely different format than you had ever done? What sparked this?
I'm going to let Rachel answer this because this was more of her brainchild.
Yeah, this wouldn't exist if Kristen had. Yeah, no, it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for me. Well, for a while, having a podcast felt like something I knew I should do, but not something I actually wanted to do. And it wasn't because it wasn't right. It was just because I just think timing wise, we were really burnt out. But I kept having this for like a year or more. I had this intuition, like, you need to do a podcast. You need to start a podcast. Like, you love talking. You're good at talking. There's all these great conversations you're having with clients that no one is getting to hear. And there's so much useful information here that I wish hundreds of people, thousands of people could hear that only one person is getting to hear you say at a time. And then a few people, of course, in our courses. But it just felt like a lot of work for a while. And it felt like I should do that, but I don't feel like I am ready to do that. And then somewhere along the line, it just changed. And I just got to the point where I was like, okay, now I want to do this. And I can't tell you exactly what changed it or what shifted. I think it came on gradually. But I think there's a lesson in there somewhere about trusting the timing of things and not forcing things before you're ready, and trusting that when you are ready, you'll feel it. And then once I felt it, I was excited about it. And I had all these ideas flow in, and it literally was very easy. And Kristen, I had to get her on board, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to be able to have deeper conversations. Like, I love deep conversation, and so does Kristen. And I just felt like so easy and natural. It's an extension of what we already do, which is talking to people ad nauseum. So it just felt obvious,
Yeah. And as someone who was kind of in that process with you, I remember when we first started working together, you had mentioned that a podcast was kind of on your mind, but it was definitely not even an objective to you yet. It wasn't something that was going to happen. It was just like, I kind of like maybe intuitively know that that's what's going to happen, but I don't know. And then, like you said, you let it flow in the way that it needed to flow. And then, I don't know, maybe 90 days later, you were like, okay, and now I think we're going to do a podcast. And so it just, you allowed it to get to that tipping point of like, okay, and now we're doing this, and you didn't have to force it. So, and the idea of, you were already having those deep conversations. I mean, you don't have a conversation with Rachel or Kristen unless it is a deep one. And so to be able to share that out has been a total gift. I wonder, as you were launching or getting ready to launch the podcast, what were you feeling about this whole thing? And what was it like creating something brand new for this stable business that you had created? Because really, I mean, at the time, you hadn't created anything, any kind of like new arm of your business in a while.
No.
So what were you feeling about the start of this new thing? Can you take us back there?
Yeah, I will say that I was excited about infusing something new in, because we'd been doing the same thing for a while. And I know that what we do is, I really care about it. And I really feel strongly that it's helping people in the way that we wanted to help people. But, you know, after you do the same thing year after year, you're like, all right, I'm ready for something a little bit different. I want to infuse some new energy in. So in that way, I was totally excited about that. And I knew that it was going to help us reach more people, new people, and some of the same people, but in a new way, and re-engage some people. So
this whole sentence has felt like a preface to a but.
No, well, but she asked how I felt.
But I want you to tell the truth about how you felt, which was that you weren't as excited about this as I was.
No, I was totally gonna get to that. Because I know we kind of already mentioned that you had to drag me into it a little bit.
I did. I want you to talk about that.
And it wasn't the content. I love having these kinds of conversations and getting into these topics. I just have always thought of myself as more of a writer and a bit more of a behind the scenes person. I'm not
a backstage gal.
I'm not a performer. Not that, and I know Rachel always gets annoyed when I say this.
I have such a debate with her about this.
I understand that to you it doesn't feel like performing, and it doesn't really feel like performing to me either, but I was afraid it would. I was afraid that I was going to feel like I had to be on all the time, and I didn't want to have to do that performing all the time. Not pretending, because it wasn't like I was going to pretend to be someone who I'm not, but it just felt like being on stage in a way.
Being on, yeah.
Whereas writing doesn't feel that way. It feels like you go into your hermit hole and you create something and then you put it out into the world and people can take it or leave it. But this just felt a little bit more like being on stage, and that's not normally my comfort zone. But so that's how I was feeling before we launched it. Was a little bit apprehensive. Am I going to feel like I'm performing every week to do this thing? Is it going to be draining for me? And I will say, now that we've done it for a year, I really don't feel that way. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I actually like creating a podcast.
Kristen will never like it as much as I like it.
No.
But that's because, again, that's because her personality is more wired to be, I think, quiet and behind the scenes. And we're both very introverted. In fact, I am technically more introverted than her.
Yes, you are.
As far as where I get my energy. But I love doing this. This is fun for me. I was super excited. I didn't have any qualms. In fact, you know how much I hate launching things, Brit. That is an established fact.
Oh, yeah.
This didn't feel like that at all. So I think this is a good testament to what happens when you do something that's very much in alignment, is it doesn't feel like effort or work. It just felt fun, the whole thing. And I don't like working, people. I really don't like it. I don't like putting in that much effort to things. I know it sounds lazy, and I don't really have an excuse. I just would rather be living than slogging or working, quote unquote.
It's just part of being a thriver.
Yeah,
or at
I'm
least
part
thriver.
And so, but this didn't feel like that. This feels actually like a hobby, like a passion project. And it's just good happenstance that it is also good for business and marketing and getting the word out there. But all the ideas flowed really well. I mean, I came up with the ideas for what kinds of content, like, every Friday we'll have a different type of episode. Like that just, I didn't have to think about it. It just intuitively all popped into my head and it was easy. And so I had no qualms whatsoever, obviously, about launching it.
I think what I hear is, while you both are introverts, I think the difference that shows up for me, I don't know if this is true or not, but what I think might be happening here is, Rachel, we know that you're an external processor, right? So it feels good for you to speak things out loud. And as you speak it out loud, you can kind of make more sense of it.
Yeah.
While Kristen, you're more of an internal processor.
Very much so.
It would make sense that you're going to kind of lean more toward that internal writing process that still feels very safe for you and internal, and you don't hit publish until it's fully fleshed out. Whereas Rach, you're gonna lean toward the more like, hey, let's just turn the mic on. Yeah, like let's just talk this out. So it makes a whole lot of sense. All I have to say to all that is I'm glad that you did it. And you
I am too. In the end, I'm glad.
I'll also add that I think part of the reason I like having a podcast and I like podcasting more than I like writing is because it's easier to have a personality in a podcast. I mean, I'm a bit of a ham. Is that the right? I don't know. Is a ham right? I mean, kind of. Yeah. I'm a bit, I like.
You were the drama kid. You were the theater kid.
Right. I'm the drama kid. And so this to me feels like it's easier to just have your personality on display and just say what you want to say. And writing has to be a little bit more thoughtful. And it's a little harder to infuse, as much humor and as much personality and as much sarcasm and wit and dry humor and that kind of stuff. It's just so much easier to just say it. And I like the freedom of that.
Mm-hmm. So as you have podcasted for the past year, what has been your favorite part about this project for you?
I have loved being able to introduce concepts to our people that are so big that it would have been hard to write about. So I still prefer writing. That's still my most comfortable medium. But for example, we did an entire, probably hour-long episode about being a highly sensitive person or being a people pleaser. And there's so much that we both wanted to say on the subject that trying to write a short blog post would never have captured everything we wanted to get into. So there's just so much more room for depth than there can be in a condensed blog. And I have also loved, I feel like we've had so many of our awesome friends on this podcast and people who I just think are so cool in my personal life. And I love that I've been able to say, hey, here's some cool people that I want you to know about. And you can actually hear them share their story and their expertise. And that has been incredibly fun for me.
I really, really like normalizing stuff. Like that to me is one of the most fun parts about getting to do this is that if you listen to this, even just a few episodes here and there is no way I think you can walk away and say, I'm the only one who feels the way that I do. It's impossible. And I really like proving to people that they're wrong. I mean, I just love that. So I like
you don't
proving,
say.
Yeah. But I like proving like, hey, you're wrong to be afraid that you're alone. You're wrong to think that you're the only one who has this hang up or this belief. You're wrong to think that it's bad that you have these feelings, that you shouldn't be ashamed of those things. Like, it's okay. This is normal. And here's what you can actually do about it. Not just normalizing it, but then giving you hopefully some ideas and insights and steps that you can kind of take and actually utilize in your life. So I just really, really like making people feel less alone and more understood and more heard and normal. Because I just feel like so many people are lonely and disconnected. And I want to do the opposite of that. I want to make people feel less alone and more connected to themselves and other people.
I 100%. I just have to say, that is maybe one of the things when I get feedback from people in reviews or clients emailing me about a particular episode saying, I feel less alone, or I feel like maybe I'm not that weird. That is the most heartwarming feedback that I ever get. That just absolutely makes my day to make someone feel less weird and less alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the receiving end of that, there have been many times for me where you do that for me, you normalize something and you do it in a way where I then feel like I need to share this. Like, I just intuitively know somebody else needs to hear this. And because you've gone through it in a deep way, in a long-ish podcast episode format, I'm then able to share it with somebody and just be like, you know what? Just trust me. You just need to listen to this. and then it's just so shareable, right? And then they feel that as well. So it's this normalizing. It has such a ripple effect. It just so much. Plus, you hit on it, Kristen, that these are big, big concepts. And if you can talk about them for an hour, just imagine how long it would take you, A, to write it, and then B, for someone to read through it. It has been really helpful to be able to be doing other things and listening to you talk through things so many times. I mean, I know you guys personally, right? So I'm always laughing with you, sometimes at you, but with you.
I'm welcoming both.
Because your back and forth and your dynamic is just so unique, and it's just so funny to me. And I get to go deep with you. That has been helpful. So because I like to go deep too, right? I mean, we could go into all the personality type stuff. We won't, but we know we're all intuitive feelers. So
most people who listen to this are the same,
Exactly.
Like they're not here unless they like a deep conversation. Though there was that one person who was like, I wish you guys would just give the facts and like wrap it up.
We're like, this is not your podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always that one.
Yeah, you might want to go find one of the other million podcasts out there that just give you the how-to.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so funny. So, okay, so here's the thing. I love to go deep as well. And I know that a lot of your listeners, I mean, they have to as well. And you're constantly going deep in your blog posts and in your coaching sessions and in the conversations you have on the podcast. It's just how you operate. So I'm wondering, because I definitely feel like this sometimes, do you ever get totally sick of thinking on a deep level? Like, do you ever think like, can't I just have a day where I'm not contemplating the meaning of life and how time is an illusion and the energy of the universe? Like, do you ever just kind of have those moments where you're just like, oh, I wish I could just not think so deeply?
Yes.
And feel so deeply.
Like all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard because I think when you're the type of person who's just wired to think deeply, it's like you live in the deep end. You can't help it. It's just where you hang out. It's your default. But yes, there comes a point where you're just like, can I just do something really stupid and meaningless for a change? Can I just not care so much about things? Can I not think so hard about things? So yeah, like Kristen and I have to honestly, like this is partially why I prioritize books and TV and movies. Like, because I need a mental escape. And I do like books and movies and TV that make me think, but at least they make me think about something else usually.
Yeah.
Like it's not like psychological principles, and it's not like, there might be some emotional stuff in it, but it's just like an escape. I really prioritize things that enable my brain to switch off in one area and relax.
And sometimes it's nice to just watch like a dumb comedy show or something where you get to go to the surface level for a little while. And it's nice sometimes. I also find that physically getting out of my space and just going out in nature or for a walk or on a hike or something, that just helps me clear my head of all of the intense depth. Like, it's just like the intensity of the world and all the meanings of what does this entail? It's like, okay, can I just like, well, okay.
I feel like if you're walking alone, what are you thinking about? You're not thinking about that squirrel over there. You're thinking about, your mind is going deep when you're walking too.
Sometimes it does, but sometimes it just brings me into the present moment.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, both happen for sure. It's hard to escape the deep end sometimes because I love swimming in it, but it is a little tiring sometimes.
Yeah, I think you need to build in breaks. I think you need to prioritize like stupid stuff and fun sometimes, just like for the sake of it.
Yeah, whatever that looks like
for you.
Yeah. I hear you on the getting out, moving your body. And I also hear you on the fact that like sometimes that's not always super helpful. What I've found is, especially on just like an easy walk, I'm not I don't have the energy to do anything more than a solid walk. And I'm not going to go work out. I'm just getting out. I'm getting some fresh air. And sometimes I have found when I'm in that deep thought and feeling process, I know I need to move my body and I need to get out, but it's in the first maybe 10 minutes of that walk where I'm still very deep in it. And it's overwhelming. It can be even more overwhelming, but then something after that maybe, I don't know what the minute mark is, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, things open up again. It's like, okay, wait, I'm in a big space. I have realized the size of my actual human body again, because you're just surrounded by big, and you can come back down to, okay, I'm here now.
And we're like the same person. I just told someone last night, a client on the phone last night, that's exactly the experience I have when I go out on a walk. It's like the first few minutes, my brain is just racing. And I know that I go out to clear my head, but at first it feels worse. And I'm just thinking in the overwhelm and just the frantic thoughts. I feel like they close in around me, and then something happens. You're right. I don't know what it is.
I can explain this, I think.
Oh, yeah. I would love to hear your explanation because it's a pattern.
Well, my theory is that when you give yourself space, all of a sudden the thoughts can shoot up out of you like bubbles escaping from a bottle, like a shaken up bottle. But then once you give yourself space, the bubbles eventually dissipate, and then you're left with just space, and it feels great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That feels accurate.
Yeah. It's like you give yourself the space all of a sudden, and it's kind of come up and out.
Right. So a 10-minute walk would not help me at all.
No, probably not.
Yes. That is so important. I think because this can look like a walk, this can look like a run or a workout at the gym or
meditation,
watching TV, doing yoga, meditation. And for us deep thinkers and feelers, yeah, man. I mean, especially if we're achievers, we might want to get this done in 10 minutes, but it might not happen that quickly. And that's okay. Because sometimes we do need to allow for all of this stuff that's going on inside of our heads and inside of our hearts to release.
Yeah. Let the carbonation settle a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. You need intervals to let that out. I think that's a thing too about being a highly sensitive person or a deeply feeling intuitive person, is that you have a lot of feelings. And if you're not properly processing them throughout the day, then they can get built up. And I think they get built up regardless of whether you're properly processing, because that's just part of what it means to be human. But I think you need to have these moments where you're diffusing and you're decompressing. And so Kristen and I have gotten pretty good at this point at trying our best to schedule ourselves so that we have decompression time. So we have calls, and then we have we have a structure on how many we're allowed to have in a day and how many we're allowed to have back to back. And, we build in things to look forward to throughout the day. We're going to take, reading books or taking a break for shows, or I think for both of us, we really look forward to meals. That's another thing that allows us to disconnect and just be I'm going to enjoy this dinner. And that's the only thing on my mind is eating sometimes.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
I was thinking that too. I think sometimes the actual act of cooking can take me out of that deep thought. I can just kind of move without thinking, and I just get into, I don't want to call it autopilot because there might be a negative connotation there, but it is a little bit of autopilot, which is really nice when most of your day you are not in autopilot.
It is nice.
I don't think autopilot is bad necessarily. I think if you're living your whole life there, that might be a problem, but I do think your brain just needs a chance to turn off. And I like the idea of having an activity that you can kind of do without thinking that keeps you moving, but that you don't have to be paying really close attention. And it just lets you kind of be a little bit automated. That's fine. I think that's good.
That to me, I've actually preferred that kind of meditation, a moving meditation, a walk or cooking or doing something that doesn't use a lot of brain power. Because just sitting and trying to be don't have thoughts in a meditative state, that does not work great for me.
Yeah, that definitely takes practice. So now I'm curious, you both are so self-aware, which is also a reason why I like to listen to you both. And obviously you've worked with so many people. You've done, for sure, a lot of soul searching, a lot of studying of yourself and work with clients and work within yourself. And you're both still human, right? So I'm curious, what do you still trip over, if you will, or what tends to be the thing or something that you're perpetually practicing and kind of coming back to and like, oh, I got to practice this again. What is that for you? I think we all have it. What is that for you both?
Like, what's your Achilles heel?
Well, kind of.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how I'm interpreting this question, and I'm fine with sharing it.
Feels accurate.
I don't think I will ever be over my struggle with impatience and thinking that things need to happen on my timeline, the way I want them to happen. Like letting crap go, surrendering to the outcome. It is just a lifelong practice. I will never be good at it. I don't think. I think I've gotten slightly better at it. But to say that I don't get enraged when things don't go my way, or that I get really pissed off, or that's the same thing as enraged. Angry, sad, frustrated, grieved, all of that when things aren't going the way I think they should, or when I don't think they're going fast enough, etc. I am not zen about that. I try to be, and sometimes I can be, but like I will always struggle with that, I think. And like, I don't know, just call it being an impatient, stubborn person by nature, but that's just going to be a mountain I climb over and over and over again. I just want it my way. I'm sorry. That's just how it is.
For me, I don't love being patient, but I'm naturally more patient, I think. So for me, it's different. It's more about how I handle overwhelm and how I manage my time. I am someone who, if I had it my way, I would go at a much slower pace of life. It just is true. I like taking my time with things. I like deeply immersing myself in things. I don't like flitting from task to task. I don't like having too many things in my daily schedule. And it overwhelms me. And so I definitely get to a point sometimes where I feel like there's too much on my plate, which is probably a normal amount for most people.
Oh, no, it's less than normal.
Probably less than a normal amount.
I mean, like, the amount it takes to trigger you into overwhelm is tiny.
Yeah, my threshold for overwhelm is very small. And once I get there, I just get this kind of frantic feeling in my body, and I just want to shut down, and I hate it. I think this is my highly sensitive nature coming out in a big way. And I try to work around it and with it. And I've tried all kinds of things. I've tried waking up early in the mornings. I've tried batching my tasks throughout the week. It's just always going to probably be a bit of a challenge for me.
That's so interesting. So they kind of feel a little opposite.
Yeah.
To me.
Impatience and a slower pace of life.
Honestly, I don't actually work at a very fast pace. I think I can do more work than she can in a day, but I think I can get a lot done. I just don't like it, and I don't want to do it that way. And I am wired to, I think it's just like when I'm processing something, I'm usually processing like a very large amount of information, and then I can kind of do it all. Or I don't know, but I feel like I do like to go slow. So it's not that I'm like some speed demon workhorse.
I'm just
let
really
me just
slow.
tell you, I'm not. But I want to hear more about what you think.
Well, it just sounds like, Rachel, you struggle with kind of like pulling back and not forcing things forward. And then Kristen, it sounds like I just want to pull back. Like I want to pull it all the way back. So I'm going at my own pace. So that's kind of what felt kind of different or in opposition. I bet you balance each other out in that pretty well. I mean, you do with a lot of things, but
let's just say that some of one of the most chronic arguments we've ever had is the difference between her capacity to get things done and mine. And it's usually like me being like, how have you not done this by now? How has it not occurred to you to do this? And like, why do you not care as much as me? And she's always like, I do care. I just can't do it.
I just work slowly. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say sometimes it does balance out and sometimes it causes friction, just like any difference.
Yeah. Well, and just like any relationship ever.
Yeah.
We are always all perpetually practicing something. And Yeah. Okay. So as we know by now, I worked pretty closely with Rachel to get this podcast up and running. And as soon as I started working with Rachel and therefore kind of Kristen, like knowing the back end of the business and how you both do things, I loved seeing that you both like to work slowly and you are not, neither one of you think of the hustle mentality as a good thing.
No,
neither do I, but I still tend to be a pusher and an achiever. And sometimes if I'm not careful, I get into hustle mentality without even realizing it. And then I'm mad at myself because I'm there. And it was really refreshing to see that you both could build this really sustainable and consistent business without being go, go, go all the time and without trying to work all the hours in the day and push, push, push. That was really encouraging to me. It was a great example for me to have in my life as I was identifying that in myself and becoming better at it. And as we go there, you both have created such a good business here. I mean, something really to be proud of. And it has helped so many people, like so many people deeply, not just, like so many people bought this one little thing from us and therefore were helped. But these are people that are purchasing and experiencing you and your energies and your one-on-one guidance. Like it's very deep and it has gone very wide. And I want to know how you both feel about bragging about something that you've done really well, because I see that you both have done this really well. This whole business thing, you got it down. You're doing really well at it from my perspective. This whole act of bragging as a female has been coming up in conversations around me. And I really just want to hear you both riff on bragging, if not bragging, simply just being open about your accomplishments and not diminishing them in front of others. What comes up when I say that, especially as females?
That's a really good question. And I do think that a lot of women in particular, and men, but I hear this particularly with women. No, I've heard this from some men clients.
All right. I'm like 1 out of every 10 men has a problem bragging about himself. The other 9 are fine. Continue.
And it is uncomfortable. And I'll say it used to be more uncomfortable for me. I do think what's made a really big difference with my comfort level of being open about that kind of thing is the people that I surround myself with. I feel like, particularly the women that are my closest friends, they are the most supportive, the most encouraging people. And I never, ever have to feel weird about bragging about a win or celebrate. They're the ones who are usually saying, we need to celebrate that.
They're more excited than we are.
Yeah, they usually are. And they welcome our successes. So I've had people much earlier in life where if I were bragging about something, I would feel like, am I triggering them? Or does that make them feel worse about themselves? Is that going to make them judge me in some way? And I would feel a lot more uncomfortable because I knew that they weren't comfortable with my wins.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So by having people in my life who are and who actually are wanting to celebrate it more than me, my comfort level with that has gone so much higher.
So, okay, that's one aspect of bragging is like, I think, and bragging, I just think, I don't really like the word bragging because that feels egotistical. But I think celebrating your accomplishments and owning them and not being afraid to promote yourself or talk about yourself and, share what you've done and what you can do for people, like you should have absolutely no shame about that because you're not doing yourself any favors or anyone else by diminishing yourself and making it seem like you're not as cool or as awesome or as talented or capable as you are. Who are you going to help if you're not, like, it's your job to make sure people know about you is what I have to say about that. So personally, I don't think I have any qualms about owning up to our achievements and telling people about them and being just matter of fact about it. Like, I don't have any weirdness about that. I, however, think that I have struggled a lot internally to remind myself of the things that I have achieved. So for me, it's much more of an internal game than it is an external game. Like, I think a lot of us struggle with this, where you're having a bad day or a bad week or you're in a rut and you just start going, I have achieved nothing. What the hell have I done? If I am feeling like this, again, I'm feeling like a loser, or I'm feeling like I have failed. And I feel like this quite often, by the way. This is not like once you get to a certain level, quote unquote, you don't feel like this anymore. Nope. You will probably always have times where you feel like that because you're human. It's like you have amnesia about the things that you've done. And it's sometimes really hard to remind yourself of, no, this is temporary. Like, you have achieved plenty of great things. You have done this. You have done that. Nope. You just kind of forget.
Practicing bragging to yourself.
Yeah. So in order to get out of that, though, I have, like, earlier this year or late last year, I was doing this, and actually doing our taxes really helped because it makes you go back and look at, like, the whole year before and kind of zoom out from, like, a bird's eye view. And it made me also go back and look at the other years and how we've done in comparison. And it was so helpful to zoom out and realize, oh my gosh, like, I did fine. I was beating myself up so much, and financially we did perfectly well. And look how well we've done since we started in 2013. It was amazing to me when I zoomed out, like, oh my gosh, when you add up all the money that anyone has ever given us in the past, like, 6 years, I was astounded that anyone would give us that much money. Like, and when you break it down over 6 years, after business expenses, taxes divided by 2 people, it's modest. You know, it doesn't seem like a lot of money. But, like, I have to trick myself sometimes into, like, seeing it from a different perspective so that I can give myself credit. Yes. And impressing myself, which I think gets back to your point about when you surround yourself with people who actually really support you and celebrate you and have nothing but, like, good things to say about you, they will do that for you. Like, they will remind you. And I will ask for that sometimes.
Yeah, they'll be a really good mirror for how awesome you are, especially when you're not really feeling it.
Yeah. I have one more thought about this.
Yeah, go for it.
Totally different thought, which is that I also think that you have to remind yourself that for better or worse, your worth is not attached to what you can produce and what you have done. Mm-hmm. So I think when you say the word bragging, or, like, you know, just the concept of taking credit for the work that you've done, I think that I really don't like the idea of getting too attached to anyone's reaction to what you've done or to the results, good or bad. Because I think if you have really great results, that can become egotistical. Like, you start to think, oh, look how awesome I am because people have given me so much money, or people have, you know, listened to this many episodes of my podcast. And that's dangerous because, like, plenty of egotistical maniacs have a ton of followers. Doesn't mean that what they're doing is a good thing. Doesn't mean that what they're doing is valuable. Just means they've conned a lot of people. Right. Or you can also take way too much personal credit for your failures or your lack of results. And you can think, oh, I must suck. Like, I am a loser because I haven't been able to succeed in this arena. Or I haven't been able to get where I wanted to go in the amount of time I think it should have taken me to get there. And I must be slow. I must be dumb. I must be untalented compared to this person. And so I think it's dangerous to take too much credit for your results either way. And I think that you have to get to the point where your worth is not measured by what you do or don't produce. It's about who you feel like you are at your core, what you value at your core, the kind of person you want to be. And your results are, like, kind of happenstance after that, in my opinion. Does this answer any question that you just had?
Oh, yeah. And I think, well, what I think we've just uncovered is something we could probably talk for the next hour about. But
Yeah.
I think what I hear you saying is there are a couple angles to come at this. You're right. The word bragging is, and that's why I used it, it's triggering, right? Like, it does feel egotistical for some people. And yet, as humans, there's a level of owning your worth and owning your goodness and what you can bring to the table. So I see the different angles of, you know, And I think we might all struggle in different areas. Maybe we have 2 of the 3 kind of down, but there's this one place where we're not that great. First, do you even recognize your worth? Do you even recognize what you bring to the table? If you don't, can we figure out how to do that? Like, can we get some internal recognition going on here? Because that's probably going to serve you pretty well. And then the balancing out of taking credit for what you've done, but not using that as your main identity, because that can get really rocky. It feels great, but we know that that's kind of a sinking ship or a really wobbly chair. That's not cool to stand
It's
on.
dangerous.
Yeah. And then, like what Kristen started out with, it's knowing who to share your wins with and being really careful of not only who you share with, but whose opinions you then take back into you.
Yeah.
And allow to shape that original internal recognition of your worth. There's like lots of stuff going on here.
Well, and I want to just amend, not just who you share your wins with, who you share with, period. Your wins, your losses, because not everyone deserves that kind of intimacy and confidence with you. I think that some people can't be trusted because they make it about them. You know, they make your wins about them. They make your failures about them. And what I mean is they're not capable of just like seeing it for what it is, which is totally about you. They're like comparing themselves to you.
They make it a competition.
Yeah, they make it a competition, or they try to degrade you because they're jealous or because they don't really think you're going to be a success and they need to tear you down in order for their world construct not to collapse. So you have to know who to trust with your successes and your failures and everything in between. That's critical.
Yeah. And you're not always going to get that right.
Oh, no.
No.
But you'll learn the hard way and then you probably won't do it again. So it's fine.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay. I have one more question for you both.
Okay.
And we're going to go deep. I mean, we've already kind of been deep, but we're going to go deeper. I want to know, if we were to ask your inner voice, what would she say your life calling is? What your purpose here? We went down, we kind of talked to your intuition a little bit. What would she say your life calling is?
My life calling, and I'll see if Rachel says the same thing or a variation of this. I'm sure we're probably pretty close on the same page, is essentially what Rachel was talking about earlier, which is I just really, really and truly want to give people permission to be who they are, to not feel weird about who they are, and to normalize that how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you desire, who you are at your core is perfect. And there is nothing weird or wrong or broken about you. And you're not doing it wrong. Because like that to me is the most important thing. If you can get on board with that, everything else is so much easier in life. If you can just feel not broken and accept that how I feel is how I feel and what I want is what I want. And I don't need to do what other people want for me. And I have permission to be who I am, unadulterated. Like everything else comes easily. And that's what I hope this podcast does. That's what I hope all of my coaching does. I do this in conversations with almost anyone and everyone I talk to. I'm constantly doing this with my brother and my friends and random strangers. I can't help it. Like feels like one of my purposes in life.
I mean, yeah. What am I supposed to say? No, of course I agree with that.
I mean, it's the biggest purpose behind Clarity on Fire. So of course that would make sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to surprise you to say, obviously I agree with that, but the way that I would describe it internally for myself, and I'm not saying this isn't just Clarity on Fire. Again, like this is just how I live my entire life is I just want to tell the truth. I just want to tell the truth about everything. I have the hardest time not being honest, brutally sometimes. But I mean, I want you to understand what's really going on here with yourself, with the world. And I want you to not deceive yourself about it. I don't want you to lie to yourself about it. I don't want you to be in denial. I want to remove the veils that you've got, gauzing up your head, preventing you from seeing things clearly, preventing you from taking action, preventing you from living the life that you were actually designed and meant to live. I just want to cut through all of the BS. And I posted this quote on Instagram the other day, and I can't remember who said it. I'll Maybe I'll put it in the episode description. It was from Outrageous Openness, but Tosha Silver didn't actually say it. She was referencing some other work. But I really loved it. And I feel like this describes why I want to do what I do, and my personality, which is in a room has a conspiracy of silence, one word of truth sounds like a pistol shot.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I just want to come in guns blazing. And just remove all of the bullshit that's keeping you from understanding that it's okay to live the life that you want to live. And honestly, I have felt in my own pursuit of this, and Kristen can attest to this, there are a lot of things that I've had to do. Well, there are a lot. We've shared a couple of these, but there are some that I've had to do totally on my own, where there are some things that I've been dead set on and sure that are right for me. I know I have to do it this way, and I am the only person I know who feels that way. I'm the only person I know who feels like, I know no one else is doing it this way. I know that I am completely opposite of how most of humanity wants to do this thing. And I'm still going to do it my way. And to me, that can be really lonely and really scary. And yet I'm still determined to do it because I'm really stubborn and I really like being right. And I don't mean right from an ego place. I mean right as in I am doing something that feels aligned with me and my soul. And this feels like truth to me. And I don't care that no one else thinks it's truth to them. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it my way. And I don't care if I'm completely alone, because I would rather be doing it right, doing it my way, doing it aligned in a way that works for me than doing it in a way that works for everyone else. And that is failing for me. And that makes me feel like garbage. It makes me feel miserable and makes me feel like my life and my soul are falling apart. That is how I do not want anybody to feel. And I want to help you guys get to the point where you can feel like, even if I have to stand alone, I feel completely right in what I am doing. And I feel confident and I feel inspired. And this is truth for me.
You made a good point that our purpose is not just about helping other people with this. It is 100% about helping ourselves.
Of course.
Too. There's so many things that I have had to accept. This is just how I am. And maybe I wish I were another way, or maybe I wish I could do something more easily or whatever, but I can't. And I could fight against my very nature till the end of time, or I could just accept myself. And it's just so much more pleasant all around if I just accept this is how I am and how can I work with it instead of against it. And that's what I want to do for myself. It's what I want to do for every single human that I encounter in the world.
Was that enough for you, Brit?
That was more, as always.
Yeah.
More than enough. I loved it. Not too much. Never too much. That was so good. And if anyone knows about the work that I do, both of your answers, I was just over here just fist pumping and yes, praise hands, all of this. I feel honored to know you both. And I'm really encouraged to know that you both are doing this kind of work in the world for others and in your own internal worlds for yourselves, giving permission to be who you are and telling the truth. Those missions that you are on are so valid and so needed. And I'm just really happy and encouraged and honored that I get to watch you both do that.
Well, we just love you. And
also, thank you for such amazing questions.
Yeah, these were great.
Oh, you're welcome.
Can you please take a minute to talk about yourself? I mean, we introduced you, of course, but I want them to hear more about marketingpersonalities.com and your podcast. So, please, can you please take a minute to
you've
share
heard enough about Rachel.
Yeah, I want you guys to know more about Brit and what she has, because I think what she's doing is just a different version of what we're doing in a different setting, but it's all getting to the same thing.
It is pretty synergistic. So I work with entrepreneurs. So if you're not an entrepreneur, this might seem unrelated, but hey, I'm sure you work for someone. And so this could still relate to what's going on in your world. I created this website called marketingpersonalities.com. And it's really a framework that matches you with your best marketing strategy based on your Myers-Briggs personality type. And I could go into the whole origin story. How did you come up with that? Long story short, I was coaching my entrepreneur clients how to market their businesses. And I was identifying these patterns over time where I would give a piece of advice to this one person and they'd take it and they'd run with it. They were just like on fire about it. They loved it. They just wanted more, more, more. And then I would give that same piece of advice to a different client with a different personality, as I came to realize. And they kind of squirmed and kind of sat back in their chair and they wanted to get away from me, and they didn't they didn't want to do what I was asking them to do.
Yeah.
And so over time, I started picking up on those patterns and realizing that our personality type can give us clues and keys into what our best marketing strategy will be for us. And by best marketing strategy, I mean a marketing strategy that's going to feel good for us to put into play and implement. Because what I know to be true is if you show up in a way that feels good to you, the right people will be attracted to that. It's true in dating. It's true in marketing. It's really true across the board. It's kind of a marketing spin on law of attraction, if you will, if we want to go there. But really, what you put out into the world, you get back. And if you're going to show up in your marketing in a way that feels fake and salesy to you and awkward and icky and well, nobody's going to be attracted to that. Your audience is going to pick up on the fact that you feel fake and salesy about this, and they're not going to buy. But if you can show up in a way that feels good and is aligned to who you just naturally are as a person, your audience is going to pick up on that good energy and want more of it, right? So that's what marketingpersonalities.com does. And just so similar to both of you, I am on a mission to allow entrepreneurs, small business owners, to show up in ways that feel good to them so they can grow their business. None of this making it hard just for it being hard's sake. Like, no, we want this to feel good. We want this to feel easy, because if you can show up that way, you will attract the right people. So yeah, that's what I do.
You can see why we love Brit so much, because
I mean, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to do anything in business that we don't want to do.
No.
Oh, that's for sure. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like, try getting me to do something I don't want to do.
We're all about that
physically
approach.
impossible. Yeah. Again, hello. It seems so obvious, but not enough people are doing it. There's so much pressure.
There
out
are so many shoulds in business.
Oh my
I should do
gosh.
this, or I should do that, or this expert's telling me this.
Or this is the right way, quote unquote, to
Yep.
do it. Well, Brit's coming in here and saying, no, there's a right way according to how you're wired. And that might not be right for what everyone else is doing. So you need to get you to marketingpersonalities.com if you are entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial curious. I think that would be really interesting for you to read what she has to say about your personality type and how it intersects with marketing. So, okay, Brit, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I couldn't have asked for a better conversation or a better person to lead this, year celebration episode. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun.
Okay.
You're awesome, Brit. Thank you. This was one of my most favorite conversations. Again, I think I say that a lot, but I really mean it.
I hope that you will listen to this after it comes out so that
I
you
will.
don't, no, not you. Well, yes, you, but
Yeah.
Brit. I was talking to Brit.
You usually yell at me
So that
for
she
not
doesn't break
listening.
her streak.
I will listen to this one. Sometimes it's hard for me to listen to myself. I do it just so I can pick up on things that I'm not aware of as I'm recording, because I have my own
Yes.
podcast. So I usually listen to like one a month out of my own podcast just to make sure, hey, like, am I saying something really dumb or whatever, But yes, I will listen to this. I can't break my streak. Like, I am carrying the torch for
Right.
all of us out there who've listened to every single episode.
Yeah, you
And I
have
am
to.
not about to pass that torch off. So
Brit, I'm taking so much validation from what you just said, because Rachel is forever trying to shame me for not listening to every episode. And it's too weird, but I do listen to some of them so that I can do the same thing.
I mean,
and just check in with myself.
I do understand that most people don't actually like listening to their own podcast. And I understand that
Rachel can't get
one
enough.
of my faults apparently is that I'm egotistical enough to love it. So this is what it is. I just think it's so fun.
that's so funny that you say that, because I love it too once I get into it.
Okay.
There's just a little, it takes me a little bit to actually hit play on one of my own podcasts.
I get it.
But
I
then
don't-
once I do, I'm like, oh yeah, like this is such a rad podcast. I am so good at this. And it completely increases my confidence in everything that I do. It just takes me a little minute to go for it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I'm always pleasantly surprised that it was better than I thought it was going to be. Even though I was on it, I knew what it was about. There's a little bit of weirdness.
I don't like watching myself. I will say that. I don't like watching myself on video, but podcasts are fine. So I'm not as much of an ego monster as I'm making myself sound. Anyway. All right. Thank you, Brit. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye. We gave you some pretty good insight into why we do what we do as coaches and what we deeply care about.
I mean, I couldn't have talked more about it. It was kind of lengthy and, long-winded as usual.
Right. And I imagine that some of you probably resonated with that and probably said, I want someone to help me accept myself as I am and live life more on my terms and help me give myself permission to want what I want and go after what I want. So if you're struggling with that and that's something that you would like some help with, it's one of the things that we love the most, and that would be a real win-win. So we have a form that you can fill out if you're interested in talking to us about the possibility of coaching with one of us, and the link is in the episode description.
The most common visual I always come back to with a lot of clients is you are sitting in a jail cell and you are moping and angry about the fact that you are imprisoned, but you're holding a key. Like that, no one's imprisoning you except you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And coaching is just the thing that makes you realize that you can use it. And then helps you figure out where to go once you leave jail. So
that's a good analogy.
I use it all the time, and people have responded well to that. It's also the kind of thing people respond to in a bit of a, oh, crap, you're right.
Yeah.
Not always loving the fact that they're the ones keeping themselves hostage, but usually willing to admit by that time that it's true. So if you don't want to be your own jailer anymore, talk to one of us about coaching. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. So we will be back on Tuesday with a throwback blog from me.
Okay, see you then.